Lights, camera, action.
What do you want to talk about?
Man, I can always edit stuff
I
around.
don't like it.
So nothing has to be perfect.
It's like that camera is like, I feel like it's like a fucking wolf. Right? It's like, I think that it's like, has thoughts and it like gives me like that feeling of like, I like overthink what that camera's gonna think about me. Right? On that note, like I feel like, you know, I have this issue in life, right? That I put too much energy of what people think about me. Right? You know what I'm talking about?
A little bit, yeah. I still have it to this day. I think it's like one of those things one of those things you know about, you know you shouldn't have, but how do you work through that?
How do I work through it?
Yeah.
I opened this studio and it's like, I'm like this recovering alcoholic and across the street. I'm over it, right? So when I opened this studio, right, and it's like, can you imagine how those people feel? And it's like, it's that kind of group of people that will all like have this inferiority complex, right? So if somebody is doing something greater, they all have opinions and, you know, coming from jealousy and opinions and things like that. And I think I'm a lot better today because I used to like put so much energy because I want everybody to like me, right? But one day at a time, when you move to these limits and you recognize that, I don't know. I used to go to the corner and cry, right? Why don't they like me, right? As a kid, I used to do that. We got 2 sandboxes, right? We got sandbox 1, sandbox 2. You got the kids in sandbox 2, they're all like freaking like bullies, right? And you got the kids in the sandbox 4, and they're like, you know, kind of like going to their trade like shit. That's me, right? And then there's a message of that, right? I just am fine. I'm just trying to get comfortable, right? And it's like, you know,
yeah, exactly.
We're just talking. It's like we're just like day living. Like you and I are just hanging out.
Exactly.
You're on that couch and you're like, yo, what's up? How you doing?
Yep.
Right? I go hang out in the fire and I'm like, welcome to Juniper Yoga and Fitness, my heart. And that is a fact. It is my heart. Because every person that walks in that door, right, reminds me of my mother, my father, my sister. It's the truth.
Let's talk about what inspired you to even open up a studio.
What inspires me to open a studio? What inspires you to open up your thing? Money.
Well, okay, yeah, no, like the difference between, okay, you could have worked at a studio. Why did you open your own?
I inspired to open a yoga studio because I want to share, like everything I know that could possibly help you gain health and fitness, right? Because I don't know, it's what I aspire to. Like talk therapy, I did fitness, yoga, and I think I started in my 20s. Right? So I don't know, one day at a time, I just kind of like felt like I needed to be of service to people, right? Help people out. Like it made me feel like whole inside.
What was the greatest challenge that you're proud of overcoming in that process from starting to now having?
Overcoming my alcoholism, right? Because without overcoming my alcoholism, I don't think I would even be here.
What advice would you give someone that is already suffering from like abuse of like drugs or alcohol, like to want to think that they're worthy of being to like where you are? Like what was the mental shift for you to be like, I'm done?
It's called the no matter what part, right? No matter what, you're not going to pick up a drink, right? No matter what, you're not going to go back to that person, right? So alcoholism, it's just like that full thing. It's just like a symptom, right? And you replace it with all these addictions, whether it's sugar, whatever, right? But you have to start somewhere, right? And when you do decide with yourself that, okay, I'm going to do it, right? Basically, you know, you could possibly say, the only thing I need to do perfectly is not pick up a drink or whatever you're working on. And if you do actually pick up a drink or do something, right, Because you have the whole idea with this whole thing of trying to overcome something is to be kind to yourself, right? It's like we are so hard on ourselves, right? The more you're hard on yourself, it's the more you're gonna go towards the direction of picking up a drink or whatever it is you're struggling with, cigarette, right? You know, some sort of, if you're like a sugar addict, right? So the more you push against yourself, right? How do I relate this with yoga? The same thing. You go in there. I teach a yoga class called Hot 26. It's really Bikram yoga. It's 26 structured kind of yoga where you're gonna go to a different posture, right? But it's the same posture over and over again. In there, you're taught to go to your limitations, right? And if you a little bit like make a mistake, the whole mindset is forgive yourself. Right? Stand up and show up over and over again, right? That is how I overcame many things in my life.
Tell me a little bit about that shift in identity, because it seems like not only was it an addiction, but like your identity started to shift.
My identity?
Yeah. Do you feel like, what do you feel about that, the shift in your identity?
The shift in my identity, it's not the identity on the outside.
Okay.
It's a feeling inside. Just like I was, like this morning, right? Just when I wake up in the morning, I felt this feeling of like overcoming. Oh my God, I'm so much better.
Yeah.
It's a very subtle feeling inside, right? A subtle feeling inside that's like, I'm a lot better. Like, and it's not something that you just you know, turn a light switch. Like, it's not like the click of a light switch.
For sure.
It requires work. It requires for you to actually walk into life, right? And when things happen in your life that's not going your way, and how you're gonna react towards it, right? Are you gonna victor A or do B, right? Are you going to go into, are you gonna cave in? Or are you gonna stand up and work through it, right? It's you know, and there's that idea also, if I cave in, I have to be okay with it, right? Because it still states that life is one day at a time. There's no reason for me to build that damn house, right? One day.
Right.
Take your time, Grace, right? I have to talk to myself sometimes. Why?
Yeah.
Because I'm fast. I have like a ticket in one day and I got items. I gotta get it done,
Yeah,
right?
same.
Boom, 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 boom. Checklist, right?
Checklist.
Right? And if I don't get it done, I have to practice this whole thing. Love and tolerance. Love and tolerance is my code, right? I experienced it this morning, right? With that
Exactly.
thing. I experienced it yesterday with my taxes, with all the people, right? Once upon a time, right, I could not even open a bill that came from the mail, right? Once upon a time. And why? Because I'm bonded with many forms of fear.
Fear.
Right? Fear is my catalyst, right? But with fear, right, it's there, right? But I gotta look at my fear, right? Because it's nobody else, right? Something will come into my life, right? And all of a sudden, I'm going to run away, right? Because I'm afraid of something. There is a cost, right? You have to dig deep. Sometimes people will talk about this fucking like psychological mumbo jumbo where you're in the middle of like that wave or whatever. You gotta think about, right? You gotta think about who you wanna be, right? But you can't just jump from here to there, right? You actually have to take a bridge, right? And that bridge, you have to dig deep. And that's why I'm so grateful I have the 12-step program. Because it breaks it down for me, the principles. It gets me to look at my own stuff. It gets me to look at the causes of why I'm scared, right? The more I look at the causes of why I'm scared, the more I'm easily to walk through that wave, right? With tallness, right? And the more I go through that wave with tallness, with like not like being scattered and everything, I'm just a little bit better in myself, right? And when I wake up in the morning, sometimes I'm like, oh my God, I'm just a little bit stronger, right? And I come from many layers of fear, right? I drank over it, right? I don't know how I got through these things. It's not me who's doing it, right? This is like just showing up for life, and it is God, right? And this is how I feel. I'm a God guy, or something else deeper in the universe.
For sure.
Right? You need to get out of your way, I need to get out of my way, and I'm hot right now.
It's getting hot in here.
Right?
Where do you
Yeah.
where do you find strength in where do you find strength in being presented with a challenge? Because it seems like obviously when you
inspired, right? They say I'm inspired. Every time I overcome something, I'm inspired to take care of myself more because there's more challenges coming in, right? And they say, are you having fun yet? Yes, right? Because the universe is always going to present something to us that's not going to go our way. And if you don't overcome that challenge, that first time, second time, it's going to keep showing up, right? It's the truth. For some reason, right? But until the day you figure it out, like you think about in yoga, I guide people to figure out their structures, right?
Yep.
If you're misaligned in your structure, you're gonna break, right? If you can't figure it out, you're going to keep going back that direction, right? You have to figure out your alignment. Everybody has different sensitivities, but I choose to look at myself as really sensitive, right? So whatever I heard, right, or I saw in every sense of myself in my childhood, I absorbed it. Refined my sensitivity. How clever is that? Because my sensitivity is my strength today, right? Without that sensitivity of feeling like I'm gonna fall and fears like that, I have no avenues to get up and move through this challenge, right? You know, this limitation that I go through all the time, right? Because I'm scared. It's the gift. My business partner, I can't stand him, right? That's the truth. I had to clone him today. It takes a lot of humility to do that, right? But you know what came up to me, guys? What opened up to me? Is like, I'm open to forgive myself, right? It's not about him. It's about me, right?
want the discomfort to reach out?
Of course, because I keep resisting it, right? Because it's my own fear, right?
Gotcha.
That is just like a pure wolf, right, of mine. That's not his shit, right? This is my problem, right? You can go in any element in your life and say, can you help me? How can I help you? I can go into the heart room and not move, right? But when somebody, like, could be an ex-boyfriend, ex-girlfriend, whatever, right? We're so uncomfortable to go in there and say, hello, how are you? Why? Because it's my own shit, right? You have your own, like, fears and your costs, right? But the truth is, whatever that other person is doing has nothing to do with me at all, right? And all of a sudden, I had this wave of, like, God did this whole thing for me today in order to move through this other limit, right, of, like, kind of, like, being curious. And I just don't know what God has in store for us every day, you know?
Right.
I thought my experience today was so good. Like, I felt like I shared it in my meeting, and I was like, this is like somebody else can hear this in here, in that room. Somebody that can't get through 24 hours without picking up a drink heard me, shared today, and hopefully whatever I shared with them, you know, inspired them not to pick up a drink. You get it? Yeah. And that's what it's all about, right? I do the same thing when I teach yoga.
Right. I was going to get into my next question is, like, how does your personal philosophy translate into the atmosphere of this space? I
just share with them my experience of, like, all these feelings of, like, I can't do it. And I just kind of, like, encourage everyone to go to their edge because they can get through it, right? We'll all go through the same thing, right? All I can do is say, you can do it, right? Stay. Please stay. Right? You can get through it, right? Once you go through this rabbit hole, it's like a tunnel, right? You gotta go through the adventure. You have to see it through, right? You have to figure it out. You have to explore because the light is at the end of that tunnel. Oh my God, I'm getting
wellness, healing.
Right?
What would you say to somebody who understands the importance of healing and wellness but are afraid to pursue it?
You can do it. You can do it. You can do it. That's for sure. Yeah. Anybody can do it.
I love that. Phew. All right, we making progress here, baby. Now, vibe check.
Have you done?
This is the vibe check. Yeah, how do you handle somebody who comes in here and kind of distorts the energy of which you create? And how do you protect that in this space?
I learned that I learned about projections.
Yeah.
Most people share your experience with you, and it took me time to realize, because I used to take it personally.
Yeah.
When people used to point fingers at me, I used to think it was me, like I'm shit, literally, right? So at any point, because I felt that way about myself, Gio, I used to join forces with them, right? And as they yell at me, I'd possibly say something at the top of my voice. But at some point, with so many people walking in this place right here, I realized that people are going through their own battles in life, right? So for whatever reason, right, and they come in here with their own life stuff, their own stuff.
Right.
So basically, anybody can project their stuff, right? I choose to project, good morning, how are you, right? Some people, I don't know, for some reason, or I don't know. So anyway, on that note, I've refined this whole thing. I've been here for a while. I mean, from people that come into my studio, employees, people have come and go, you know? And sometimes I used to just stay and let them stay and deal with it, right? Today I realize I'm like, thank you, but no thank you, right? You take that attitude and take it out of their cat. No sense, right?
It's a good one. That was
Yeah,
good.
I have a lot of stories with that. You guys know that. And like, you know.
Right.
I've got, you know, like, I got Vicky, she won't give me her W-9. I'm like, what is the problem, right?
No names,
She's
no
so
names.
loud.
No names on
Sorry,
camera.
I'll put it out there.
Yeah, no.
But, you know, I'm just talking
Right.
about it, right? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
You know, I just learned not to take people personally, right?
Yeah.
Again,
Well
it
said.
still comes in from my patterns from what I learned in my childhood, right? And, you know, we all have mothers, fathers, and for me, I had 3 sisters, so we all have different dynamics, you know, in the way we, you know, and like I said, every person that walks into my space can be my mother, my father, my sister, and I'm working through my own limitations, like my old patterns, right? At any time now, I can react the way I react towards my mother or father. And that's also like a whole thing, right? You have to kind of like resolve things with yourself, and there's the family, right? That's really deep, right?
For sure.
We're not, you know, it's like, yeah, that's deep.
Yeah, let's get into
But
like
always and always, I say we start with ourselves, right?
For sure.
Overcoming this thing called alcoholism was a journey for me. I had to dig deep. I had to dig into my relationship with my mother, my father, and my sisters, right? And the way I showed up, the way my mother showed up, I took them personally, the way they acted towards me, right? I reacted towards it. And in that moment, right, the way I think, I create all these delusions.
I think this is great because I feel like so many people have that connotation that you have to already be at a certain level or a certain demeanor to be in your position or even just be able to do something like yoga. So I guess my question is like, what is your goal for like any person that comes in here, whether they're a beginner or expert? Like what's the ultimate goal? What do you want them to get out of this space?
I just want them to feel encouraged and more confident about themselves, right? Because again, everybody has a little bit of something.
Exactly,
You
for
just
sure.
don't know when a person is going from the moment to the door.
Exactly.
They're coming to exercise, but the truth is, they're coming in for something. Right? I feel that, right? Energetically, like I just give them my all. Good morning, how are you? How can I help you? Right? When I teach these classes, I could feel, let's go, you can do it, right? Encouraging, and I want everybody to walk out of here like they feel like they're part of the community and that they're not alone. Because I felt that as a kid, right? Is all,
Exactly.
right? Or
Love that.
my love.
Community.
Both.
That was great.
I haven't caved in. I'm still here, right? And I own this studio. I'm a woman, I'm a minority, and I'm gonna keep going, right? And with all due respect, I feel like I feel like I have such good reputation in this place. I deserve that. Like I gained it. I did the work to get to this place. And talk about even going to the pandemic. That's fucking amazing.
Let's talk about
I
that.
don't know how I got to the pandemic, right? I don't know, right? Again, I just showed up. I did not give up. There were moments where I wanted to cave in, didn't. I still went into the principles of like, the only thing you need to do perfectly is not pick up a drink, right? And not give up.
How many years sober were you in 2020 during the COVID?
I got sober in 2012.
So you were 8 years sober and you were almost at the edge, you were saying? Wow.
Oh no, you mean, like drinking?
Yeah, like you.
Didn't.
Oh, okay.
The edge is meaning like I could give up.
Okay.
my drink, right?
Oh, okay.
Right? Because it's not about the drink, it's the behavior, right? The drink is just the item that smooths out your edges, right? And you smooth out your edges. It's like you check out.
Yeah,
I can do it with cigarettes, and these are the things I
for sure.
drank. I smoked cigarettes, right? And in 2020, it took me a long time to quit smoking, right? And for a person like me that advocates for fitness and health, I struggled with that too. It was the hardest addiction to give up. Because all these things that I did, drinking, smoking, it all came from self-seeking tendencies, attention. Like, pay attention to me, pay attention to me. I didn't realize that until I got sober, But even quitting smoking, it took me to quit. I quit 2020, right when the pandemic started.
Wow.
Because I had fear, and it supported me. My fear supported me, right? I had allergies, and I thought I was gonna die, right? And I'm like, I'm not gonna pick up a cigarette can, right? And I had been smoking since I was like 13 years old. Wow. Right? That's a long time. I am an awful right? But at this point, 2020, 21, 22, 21, 22, 23, 4 years, haven't picked up a cigarette, right? And I want to. And it's a blessing because it's like a gift. It's been taken away from me just like alcohol. Alcohol, one day I couldn't put it down, just like cigarettes. Like, who would have known, take the obsession away? I can't do it I can't believe that I don't have that feeling, It's all good, right? So the more you do things that is the opposite of what you used to, the more you get stronger. And I just feel so much different about myself. Like, I feel like I can say today that how I feel about myself, I'm pretty amazing, right? I'm fucking awesome, right? I'm magnificent. In fact, my mother said that to me a couple weeks ago. She's like, Gracie, you're magnificent. I said, I am, well, right? And that's like great, right? And that's not coming from a self-seeking tendency. It's real, it's truth, right? And the more I feel this way about myself, the more I can share these things with people who I feel that are struggling out there, right? That's why this studio is here. It's not about the fitness. It's not about the physical yoga.
Yeah.
It's about that inside job that you still go to your limitation, right? And if you don't do it right this time, you're gonna have to. It's gonna be okay, right? I had to learn that, right? I still do it. I'm still hard on myself.
Yeah.
But I do know today it's a lot better. It's a lot better.
That was beautiful. Challenge. We're getting closer to the end. So I wanna it seemed like you always had another challenge in board. Like, do you feel like you're getting stronger or do you feel like challenges are getting harder in your life? I don't know how to ask this question. I'm too freaking hot right now.
I think that I used to think that challenges are getting harder in my life,
Yeah.
right? But I feel like I'm more like readily to just step into my days and know that these challenges are gonna come up. And now I became a problem solver, right? Like the solution is the same, like because of practicing it over and over,
Exactly. Yeah.
right? So I just I had tools, right? And sometimes the tools, you know, I get a little bit baffled then. I forget about the tools, right? Because it still happens. But I know today that I'm not afraid to go to any challenges. The answer to that question is no,
Well said.
right? I feel like that I can go into a challenge and take a pause, take a breath, and figure it, right? I still have a lot of things that I kind of just like look at about myself and like, right? Maybe you could do this because you're afraid of it, right?
Yeah.
But I'm more open to doing it, like getting on a plane by myself, right? And that's a big thing for me to overcome. Like getting on a plane by myself
Respect.
without anyone that I feel like I could like feel safe with is huge for me. Like, so I'm 55 years old today. I've done it twice already, and it's like I feel different, right? And it sounds like it's something that's not such a big deal for so many people, but it is to me, right? It's part of my journey, right? But even though it's just like that action, it taps into other things in my life. I call them different postures. So the more I refine myself in that posture, it kind of just like translates to the other posture, right? I'm stronger. My structure is stronger. So I'm ready for the next adventure, right? Right? It is like sometimes, you know, like it's not easy, right? It's gonna happen. And you have to accept that, you know. I love
Real.
my mom and dad. You know, that's like one big thing for me. I get all scared, you know,
For sure.
how I'm gonna handle it and things like that. I'm so close to my family, right? It's huge for me. It's like I have like a certain attachment, but it's a good attachment,
Yeah.
right? They're important to me. Right? Community is important to me. Family, and it's all that stuff. Yeah.
What was the worst advice you ever received?
That's the worst advice. I don't know.
We'll go back to that one. I like to finish these calls with just like general questions, but you know, however you answer it, could be one.
Run a marathon in fucking 1 hour.
That was
It's gonna hurt you. Don't do it. Take your time.
Take your time. What was the best advice you ever received?
It's the best advice. Take your time, Gracie.
Did you tell yourself that or someone told you?
Someone told me that. Someone told me to take my time. Someone told me to enjoy life, take it as it comes. You know, that's just 13, you know. But it's just that she was pushing towards the right direction.
Yeah. You have a lot of different people you have support with. Like, what's yeah, like, you know, because a lot of people, they either just go to their friends, but you have like networks of people that you go with. Like, what's the importance in that for you? Like, you have your sponsor, you have friends, you have family, you have different.
Connectivity, and we share, right? And whatever I'm going through, they're going through.
For sure.
Same, right? It makes you feel like you're not alone. You know, I feel like we're like,
Yeah.
right? I like this line that I learned. Just like me, right? Just like me. Like we're mirrors to each other, right?
I love that.
But today, I get to choose my mirrors, right? The more I feel this certain feeling about myself, I choose my mirror. Because that mirror does not serve me no longer. It's on that side. Oh my God, this is good.
Let's go.